Good afternoon everyone and welcome to today's webinar on maximising your website potential. My name is Helen Hutchings from the Phillips Group and I'm your host for this webinar. In a moment I will hand you over to today's presenter Doug Pye, and at the end of the webinar I will hold a questions and answers session with Doug and we look forward to receiving your questions. This webinar is part of a series being provided by the Department of Tourism, Major Events, Small Business and the Commonwealth Games. We hope that you find it informative and useful for your business. Before I hand over to Doug, I'd just like to apologise. Both Doug and I are still suffering a little bit from the cold that we had last week, so we probably both sound like we were singing at jazz clubs last night, but I can assure you it's just a little bit of a cold. Over to you, Doug.
Thanks, Helen. Yeah, and apologies to everyone if I do sound a little bit croaky. I'm just going to take you through today's agenda. We're going to do a little quick introduction and orientation about the software and also my background. I'll then discuss the key workbook points with you and provide examples about these points that hopefully will assist you with your business. And as Helen mentioned, we'll do a question and answer session at the end. So please participate throughout the session and ask your questions. Helen will be collating them and will be answering them at the end. On your screen, you should have a panel, and there's a question section on the panel, so feel free to enter a question at any time. As I mentioned, we'll get back to them at the end of the session, but please also note that I'm going to ask some polls throughout the webinar. Unfortunately, people using an iPad will not be supported by the GoToWebinar software, so you won't be able to participate in the polls, and we apologise for that. If you're using Twitter, feel free to interact with us via the hashtag QLDBIZ. We'll be checking the hashtag throughout this webinar, and if you post a question there, we will pick that one up as well and feed it in at the end. But just quickly, I'm going to be explaining during the webinar an understanding of the purpose of your website, optimizing website design, posting effective content, compatibility, getting people to your website, and review and improvement. A little bit about myself. I've been with Phillips Group as the Marketing Director, working with the company now for coming on 6 years. I have a number of small to medium enterprise as well as large clients within the corporate sector, as well as property and mining resources. We'll just get on with the presentation now. We're going to cover tips and ways to get the most out of your website. As I've found working with businesses over the years, websites often get set up and forgotten about, or are never really tested to see if they're actually delivering on their purpose. As you would no doubt agree, your website is a vitally important part of your business. It's a way to connect with your customers, to let them learn about who you are as a business, what your expertise is, what differentiates you from your competitors. Your website's an important part of your overall marketing plan, and its design and content and usability should align with your core business goals. So because of this, the first step in making sure your website is effective is making sure that you actually understand its purpose. That is, what are you trying to achieve with it? Ensuring that you understand the core function of your website will assist in evaluating its effectiveness. Your website should describe your capabilities and expertise and give your business legitimacy. Establish you as a business that can be trusted, offer a cost-effective way of advertising and marketing your business, give your business a global market, and it's not necessarily limited to local customers only. Develop and strengthen your relationship with both current and prospective customers by establishing a continual line of communication with them. Inform and engage potential customers through informative and easily navigable content and provide a platform, obviously, for sales. Ultimately, your website should aim to inform, engage and convert your audience to some type of action. I'm going to do a quick poll now, and I'd like to get an understanding now from you about whether you actually have a website already. Now, a fairly simple question, obviously. And I'm just going to launch that now and just give you a few seconds to answer the question. I'm going to close the poll now and share the responses. So interestingly, we have obviously 88% of our attendees today do have a website. Interestingly, 12% don't, and I really hope that we get something out of today's session so it can encourage you to go on and actually develop a website. I'm now going to do another poll. For those who do have a website, are you happy with how your website currently looks? And again, I'll share this and give you a few seconds to consider your response. Okay, I'm going to close now. It's nice to know that almost half of our attendees today are quite happy with how their website looks. And with the 28% and 13% who are undecided and who are not happy with how their website looks, again, I really hope you get something out of today's session and just get that little bit of encouragement needed to investigate ways about how we can actually improve that. Sorry, I probably should have shown you that before I spoke, and there are the results from the question. Okay, so getting the most out of your agency. Before we get too far in, it's worth considering how you're actually going to build your website. If you don't already have a website, you can either build your own website if you have the capability, or use a web developer or agency to do it for you. While building your own website is possible, a professional can build your site quickly and provide you with guidance on proven successful web design. A professional will sit down with you and go through the design, your target audiences, the business goals and objectives, as well as maintenance and future development. What we plan to do today with the workbook that has been provided is give you some background knowledge of these elements that will help you to work with your developer to get the most out of their time and your online presence. Basically, as we know, time's money. If you can go into a meeting with the developer with ideas on what you're after, it will hopefully save you and the developer time in the long run. So before you provide a brief to your agency or developer, take some time with a pen and paper and consider why you want a website. What's the most important thing you want your website to do? Who will use your website? What other marketing tools have worked in the past? How can you use the website to streamline current processes? Also, importantly, how much are you prepared to pay? And how much time can you invest in the process? It's important to also consider how regularly you're going to update the site and who will have access to the site for maintenance. Knowing these details will assist the developer in deciding the best design, platform and content management system for your site. So static website versus dynamic website. If you're setting your website up for the first time, or even if you're considering a website rehaul, a key consideration is whether to go with a static or a dynamic site. This is Really important consideration, as static and dynamic websites will each organise and present the content of your website in very different ways. Static websites are often a quick and cheap option to present content consistently each time the page is loaded. The content is actually hard-coded into the site and doesn't allow for the updating of content other than by actually going into each page and editing the HTML code. Traditionally, a static website has been the most common among small businesses, as they're quicker and cheaper to develop initially and also cheaper to host. The disadvantages to a static site are that the hard coding restricts the ability to freely edit or change content. Changes will generally require editing of the HTML code each time, and this might mean that you could require a web developer each time you want to make a change to the site. Dynamic websites allow flexibility and functionality, and they're usually controlled by a content management system. What this does is provide everyday users a back-end platform to access the site and update it. It allows people with no knowledge of web development the ability to update information themselves, which is quite cost effective. The benefit of this is that you can make timely edits to your site without waiting for a developer to do it for you. So it allows you to post news and events or sales promotions on your site at any time. Importantly, there's no need to pay anyone to make these changes to your site. Now, dynamic sites can be more expensive to develop initially, and this is due to their complex nature and the inclusion of the content management system, or CMS. But a dynamic site can offer other functions that are not available on a static site, such as discussion boards, photo galleries, integration of your Twitter feed or Facebook and other social media channels. Here's an example of a dynamic site. We see that Pure Indulgence had chosen a website with dynamic functionality, which includes a shopping cart option, specials, promotions, a customer login and booking pages. Now, these would all be updated on a regular basis and require information to be stored on an external file. So which option is best for your business? The thing to remember is that both static and dynamic websites can be effective. However, the decision of which option is best for your particular business should be decided by the functionality needs of your website and ultimately your budget. If you engage assistance from a web developer or agency, talk through these options with them and get their expert advice based on the specific needs of your business. They will be able to advise you on the most efficient option to meet your needs and requirements. So, optimizing your website design. We're now going to look at ways to optimize your website design by understanding an often neglected or overlooked area of navigation, accessibility and readability. While we want you to have an exciting and engaging website, there are a few best practice guidelines that will help make sure that the core elements of your site are optimized correctly. So first up, navigation. As you probably already know, website navigation refers to the website elements that help users move around your site. Usually this is led by a navigation bar at the top of your page, which is shown on the slide. Clear navigation guides people to the information they want, and if people can't find the information they're after, they'll leave and look somewhere else. So things to remember when it comes to reviewing your navigation include making sure that the bar is in a consistent position on every page. Make your heading clear and simple to reflect what people will read when they follow the link. If your headings bar has a drop-down section for subheadings, make sure that all elements, including the topic, are clickable links. Accessibility is about making sure your website is accessible to all, and that includes people with disabilities. The Web Accessibility Initiative was set up by the World Wide Web Consortium to promote accessibility on the web. They've published guidelines around a number of elements that you should definitely consider during any website build or refresh. And these elements, as are shown on the screen, are around text alternatives. So provide text alternatives for any non-text content so it can be changed into other forms people may need, such as large print, braille, speech, symbols, or more simple language. Time-based media, so provide alternatives for audio and video content. Make sure it's adaptable. Create content that can be presented in different ways. You know, for example, a more simple layout without losing informational structure, and make sure it's distinguishable. Make it easier for users to see and hear content, including separating foreground from background. Now, all of these examples are in your workbook, so it's a good idea to refer to the workbook and get some helpful tips and advice. Now, optimizing your website design. So readability is incredibly important, and it's often an overlooked area. This is about making sure that the content that you have on your page can be read easily, quickly, and understood. So what are the key elements? First up, font. Your choice of font style and size can affect your visitor's experience to your website. Standard fonts are always the best option to guarantee that the visitor's browser can display your website the way you want it to. Other tips to remember is obviously to make sure your text is in a plain and easy to read font. Sans serif fonts like Arial and Verdana are very good quality fonts for use on websites. Also, only use one font type throughout the site, particularly for the content. Your font size should be at around about 12 points, and definitely avoid using uppercase text. In the online environment, this is actually recognised as shouting. Importantly, keep it short. People read websites differently to other written forms. As people scan websites to find the information they think is important, your content needs to be short and to the point. So break up any large blocks of text into paragraphs with headings and dot points. And keep your sentences as simple as possible. Remove any unnecessary words. Structure is also very important. It's the key to a great website structure. It's putting the most important information at the top. Give people what they want to know straight up. Don't make them search for it. White space, also very important. It's an essential element that's definitely overlooked often. White space is the space that separates content elements such as text and images. A website that's overcrowded with information or images or advertisements is usually difficult to read and follow. And white space provides a separation of information which in fact enhances the visual design of the site. Colour and contrast. Using unique background and text colours with it can individualise your site, but make sure you consider how your chosen colours look when they're combined. Websites that have highly contrasting colours are the easiest to read. For example, a light background with a dark font. Website backgrounds and fonts with low contrast, like grey text on a white background, are much harder to read. We've got a chart on the screen which shows a range of best practice colour contrasts and some that are definitely recommended against. The other element to this is making sure that people with colour blindness or other visual impairments can read your site. Vision Australia has a free tool to check your website's colour combination to determine if they provide good visibility. The tool can also create simulations of certain visual conditions, such as colour blindness. To access the colour contrast analyzer, go to visionaustralia.org and you can find the full direct link in your workbook as well. I'm going to give you an example of a website, Poppy Cakes. It's I think it does all the elements quite well. So it's got fantastic contrasting colours with the light blue, the pink and the brown. It's clear and consistent in terms of its navigation here on the screen. It's got very simple font used for the body copy, and it's also got a really good use of white space. And I encourage everyone to do a little bit of research online, just to, within their industry as well, to see what sort of tone your competitors are using before you start making considerations on the design of your own. Okay, so posting effective content. Your content's critical, and getting it right is crucial. In reality, you only have a few seconds to convert a web visitor into an engaged user. Capturing and keeping their attention comes down to understanding them as an audience and how they consume online media. Segment your online target audience by considering what information they're searching for when they click on your site. Do they need a local service? Do they want to learn how to undertake a DIY project, or do they want a demonstration video? Providing relevant and interesting or unique information to answer consumers' needs is the most effective way to reach your audience and encourage them, most importantly, to do business with you. So some tips to improving your web content. Writing for the web is a skill that uses writing conventions that are very different from other writing styles. Over the next few slides, we're going to discuss some tips that will help you to review your web copy and ensure it's engaging and persuasive, as well as relevant to your audience. And they include having a clear strategy, making your point, being relevant, including a call to action, and using hyperlinks. So firstly, having a clear strategy. As your very first step, create a clear plan outlining your purpose, audience and timeline. Consider how you'll maintain the content in the long term. Is it timeless information or something that will need to be updated in the future? Also think about the tone you want to set in your website that will reflect upon your business culture. Do you want to be conversational or professional or even humorous? Next up is making your point. Use clear headings, short sentences and simple language, and order the most important information at the top of the page. A few simple tips on writing shorter website content might be to, again, put the most important information first. Use easy to understand words and phrases. Break up long paragraphs and sentences, and remove any unnecessary words or content. Sites that are regularly updated are more likely to engage with your target audience. This is because it keeps your site current and provides a reason for users to return. Including a call to action is a way of encouraging your visitors to do something after they've read your page, and this includes actions such as calling to speak to an expert or signing up to an email list. Calls to action can be included as a hyperlink within your body text or buttons, and regularly accompanied with phrases like contact us or register here or even find out more. Using hyperlinks in your website body, particularly as the call to action, is a very effective way of guiding people around your site. But it's important to use keywords or phrases as your hyperlink rather than using click here for more information. A hyperlink uses a keyword or phrase in your actual text that contains a link to another relevant page. For example, in the examples on screen, the first option that hyperlinks the words keyword is the recommended approach rather than using the click here in the second line. Hyperlinking will help with your search engine optimization as well. Search engines require content such as hyperlinks to find other pages within your website as well as to and from your websites. It lets search engines find the pages in your site and list them as searchable. So using the click here techniques actually hide the keyword link navigation from the search engines. A really good example for you to go to would be Wikipedia, which uses an incredible array of hyperlinks within their website to source information. It's well worth going into that website to see how they do it. Business blogs. So for those of you who don't have a blog or aren't aware, a blog's a discussion or opinion web page that consists of short, frequently updated posts on a topic of interest. For businesses, blogs can be an effective way to communicate with customers and for employees to share their knowledge, capability and their experiences. They can be a cost-effective way to publish current information on your website without the need to contact a web developer, apologies for that, to publish content on your behalf. It's also a more relaxed writing style, making it less time-consuming than developing copy for your website. You can also use blogs to publish articles, opinion pieces, industry updates, or even portfolio work. Okay, so there are two options for publishing blogs. An on-site blog, you can get a developer to add a blog to your site if you have a CMS. This is a great way to provide new content to people who visit your website. There's also separate blogs. You can set up a free blog separate to your site using wordpress.com or blogger.com. Now, while this is a cost-effective alternative, it does create another platform that you need to manage and control. It also doesn't provide the opportunity for directing traffic to your site that an on-site blog does. Now, the example on screen is of a business blog, 22 Michaels. It's a really effective business blog from the creators of the online shoe store, Shoes of Prey. The blog discusses diverse topics including their experience establishing Shoes of Prey, experiences in their day-to-day business, even attendance at events and company highlights. Using images and videos on your site. As we discussed in our previous webinar, images and videos are an incredibly effective way of communicating information and engaging your audience. The benefits, as are on the screen, they provide rich content, build brand awareness, enhance experiences on your site, and reinforce your key messages. So if selling a product, an image is an absolute must, but too many images could lose the page focus. And please do not use free stock images. It really cheapens the look and feel of your site, and it's well worthwhile making the investment in good quality images to attract more users to your website. Add alt tags to describe the image, which will assist vision impaired viewers. YouTube. Visitors have videos have immense benefits for your site, and they provide a really good opportunity to introduce your business and your staff, obviously show off your products and explain your business's differentiation. A great way to demonstrate things that would be very difficult to explain in writing. Basically, telling customers how to do something is one thing, but showing them on a video is quite another. Adding a video to YouTube and then to your site is a great way for you to quickly and cheaply add a video to your website while also reducing the drawdown on your data. The webinar workbook provides a step-by-step process on how to embed a YouTube video on your site. So again, I'd encourage people to refer to the workbook after today's webinar. Compatibility. The use of smartphones, iPhones and Androids is fast growing, and the emergence of these smartphones and even tablets such as iPads are completely changing the way people access the internet. People are now accessing the internet with their smartphones and tablets to find entertainment and information on the go. With the 2012 Census e-Business report, 96% of Australians own a mobile phone. And now, looking at the graph on the screen, 58% of these Australian mobile phone owners access the internet using their mobile phones, and 34% of Australians are accessing the internet via tablets. So websites are now becoming accessed by screens that vary greatly in size, resolution and performance. Businesses need to ensure that their website has been optimized for use on all devices. Responsive web design. One way of catering for this is obviously responsive web design. It's aimed at crafting sites that provide an optimal viewing experience across all devices. It incorporates a combination of grids and layouts that automatically respond to a phone, tablet or computer being used by altering the resolution, the graphic sizes, the scripting and navigation requirements. An example is the Black Milk website on your screen. They show that the website, what it looks like if you access it via your desktop computer or via your mobile phone. If you haven't done it already, I would encourage you all to look up your business website on your smartphone and see how user-friendly it is on your mobile phone or your touchpad device. Browser compatibility. Another consideration for your website is ensuring that it will look how you want it to across the range of browsers that are available. This is because websites can behave differently in different operating systems and browser environments. The main browsers include Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome and Safari. There are also different versions available of the different browser types. Older browser versions are periodically dropped as supported environments, so it's important to make sure your website's functionality and user experience remains intact and current across multiple browsers. This is a fairly technical thing to address in the time frame we have, and I'd advise raising this with your web developer to ensure it's catered for within your site. As a general rule, your web developer should use this table that we've provided you as a list of browsers and operating systems to test against. So we've got another poll, and I'm going to open the poll for you now. So which channel do you think is the most cost-effective in bringing people to your website. And I'm going to launch that now. Give you a few seconds to review those responses. Okay, now I'm going to close the poll and share the responses. So it's interesting, 64% have said search engines such as Google, as well as 27% for social media. Now we're about to start discussing promotion of your site. There's no correct answer. It will really depend on your business and what promotional channels that you currently have. Okay, so getting people to your website. With all your investment in your website, you want to make sure that you're actually getting people there. And there are a few ways you can get people to interact with your business using your website. Firstly, encourage interaction via plugins. Social plugins are links that can be placed on your business's website to encourage more traffic to your social media platforms such as Facebook and Twitter, even YouTube or Google+. The image below shows a plugin bar that can be applied to your website or pieces of content such as videos or blogs. What these plugins do is allow people who are browsing your business website to comment or share or like or plus content from your website on their social media platforms for their friends to see. Obviously, Facebook also has a wide range of plugin buttons that can be installed, each with specific purposes, and these include liking an item or subscribing or recommending and commenting. Facebook creates the code for you or your developer to implement on your website, so your visitors can see what their friends have liked or commented on or shared. If you'd like more information on the types of Facebook plugins, or to find the code to send your web developer or agency, there's a link in the workbook on page 17. Twitter has what's known as the tweet button, which is a small widget that allows users to tweet information, usually a link from your site to their followers. Having the tweet button makes the process of sharing links to your video or blog very easy for your visitor. Again, for more information about how to install that tweet button, just follow the link in the workbook. So promoting your site, pretty straightforward. There are many ways to promote your site for free, and as I've listed here, word of mouth, your e-newsletter, a blog, which we've already discussed today, brochures, obviously even your business cards, and signage. Search engine optimization, it's something that's been brought up on numerous occasions throughout this webinar series. You'll know that one of the most important ways to promote your website is via SEO. It's the process of improving the visibility of a website or a web page in search engines such as Google or Yahoo and Bing, among others. It considers how your consumers search for their online information. So every search is started by someone typing a keyword or phrase into a search engine and clicking search. So all the results that are returned are based around the keywords entered. For example, if you typed wedding dresses, you'd get very different results than if you searched dressing for a wedding. This means that if you want to rank highly for a certain page, you need to ensure your website content targets specific keyword queries. SEO is the best considered during your website design and development process. Now, it's tricky and understanding the searching behaviours of your audience and figuring out which keywords you need to focus can be a real task. However, the rewards are high if you can increase your search visibility. Search engine marketing. It involves the website owner paying to advertise its service at the top of the page above other search results. The links appear as sponsored links or ads related to, and it's an effective way to ensure your business appears on search result pages, but it can be seen as less credible because the result's being paid for. Now, the ads appear under sponsored links in the side column of the search page and may also appear in additional positions above the free search results. Review and improvement. It's important to review your website regularly to ensure that it's achieving your business goals. If your website isn't performing the way you want and delivering on your objectives, then you need to work out what the issue is and then address it. Reviewing your website's performance gives you the chance to change your approach to ensure that you're not only attracting people to your site, but engaging them and keeping them there. It will also show whether your marketing strategies, such as your SEO or content marketing, are working to drive traffic to your site. We're going to quickly look at Google Analytics, which is one of the leading free website analysis tools. Google Analytics can provide a range of website statistics, including the number of visitors to your site, unique visitors, geographic locations of visitors, most viewed pages, and also how they got to your page. Learning about your audience. Google Analytics provides the following reports, as you can see on the screen. Now, I'll just give you a quick overview of each. However, as we're sort of pretty limited for time today, I'd advise you also check the workbook and visit the Google Analytics site for more detailed information. I'll just go back actually. I didn't realise that we were in summary there. My apologies. Basically, your dashboard will provide key current month statistics at a glance and will show you information on new visits, unique visitors, maximising your website potential, visits by browser, average visit duration and the pages that have been visited on your website, the bounce rates, as well as revenue and goal completions. Real-time reporting provides you with live statistics on your website activity. It tracks activity in real time and can provide data within seconds of the activity taking place on your site. Data that can be generated in real time includes the number of current visitors, visitors' geographic locations, referrals, as well as pages being viewed. Audience overview reports provide insight into who makes up your audience, so location, language, and as well as other custom variables. How that audience reaches and consumes your site, i.e. the technology, whether it be mobile or through touchpads or through regular web. Loyalty and engagement as well in terms of behaviour and their location. Traffic sources are the source locations which your visitor has arrived on google.com. A Facebook link, facebook.com, or a direct URL entry into the web browser or bookmark bar. That can be viewed in terms of the visits over the last month, which is like a line graph, all traffic sources by percentage in the form of a pie chart, and metrics for search traffic keyword, search traffic matched search query, search traffic source, referral traffic source, and direct traffic landing. Content reports will show you how successful the content on your website has been in meeting the needs of your visitors. Data that can be accessed includes the Site Content Pages report that will provide information on how often each page on your site was viewed. For websites that have a built-in search box function to assist their visitors, Google Analytics Site Search report shows data that will allow you to find out whether your visitors were successful in finding their desired information. So in summary, we've gained an understanding of the purpose of your website that will guide the design and functionality. Obviously, remember to consider the elements of navigation, accessibility and readability to maximize the effectiveness of your site. Web content should be strategic, relevant and interesting to your target audience, and include, obviously, as we said earlier, a call to action. Make sure your website's readable across different devices. Promote your website using SEO and SEM, and take time to review and improve to understand what's working on your site. There's further information available. Please use these links to get access to the workbook if you don't already have it. It's a fantastic resource for everyone to access information, not just from today's webinar, but from the whole series of webinars that we've been conducting over the last few months. And I'll now hand you back to Helen for Q&A.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you very much for that presentation. Just before we get into Q&A, we've had a couple of people ask about the workbook. It was emailed out prior to today in one of the emails, sort of reminding people about the webinar. But if you don't have a copy, please just let us know in the questions box, and Stephen will ensure that you do receive a copy of the workbook. And as Doug, you said, the recordings from these webinars are available on www.business.qld.gov.au. Anyway, we'll get on to the questions now. We've had quite a few, so we'll see what we can get through in the time frame. We've had quite a few questions around a CMS, and for some of you who joined us a bit later and have asked, a CMS is a content management system. And Doug, I'm just wondering if you could sort of go through again why we'd sort of, what an open source CMS is, and why we would recommend that over a custom built CMS.
Well, the benefit with open source is that it's been developed through a collaborative effort involving a number of developers. Therefore, the actual software is free. It's updated regularly. New features are always being developed, and there's lots of information on how to use the software. A custom-built CMS is the IP of one web development company, and they own that CMS. You're really just leasing it. This can be great if you need a lot of customization for your site. However, you can run into issues such as specific hosting requirements, the longevity of your relationship with that developer, and also future customization.
Okay, thanks for that, Doug. I hope that's answered most people's questions around that topic. Also, really when we're talking about content management systems and we're talking a bit about free tools, do you know of any websites that offer some free templates to build a site on, and what are a couple of those that people could perhaps look into?
Well, there's There's a couple that come to mind. One is Wix, W-I-X, or Weebly, which is W-E-E-B-L-Y. With Wix, it's got great looking templates and quite intuitive drag and drop interface as well. Also importantly, there's lots of support, but there are visible advertisements on the free platforms, i.e. The Wix logo on the side and on the bottom of the website. You can't change the templates once you've populated one, and they're very limited in terms of their e-commerce functions. But it's good for beautiful interactive websites. With Weebly, it's probably one of the easiest and user-friendly website builders. It's excellent actually, and there's no pressure to upgrade. Also, there's a broad range of templates, but it's not designed for complete e-commerce needs, and there's a limited number of templates compared to others. Also, very basic blog functions, but it's friendly and easy to use, and it also has pretty comprehensive tools, Helen.
Okay, great. And look, we've also got a couple of people commenting on things, that Crazy Domains is really good and low cost, and also, the theme forest for WordPress templates is good as well. So I think there's quite a variety out there, and that people can look at.
Absolutely. Look, it's really important to shop around. I think, don't necessarily settle for the first thing that you see. Spend some time doing the research required to find a solution that meets your requirements.
Great.
Yeah.
I've had an interesting question that might help some other people as well, where people said that they're happy. Well, this person's happy with their existing website, but wants to to be able to provide a bit of a latest news section. So they're asking if they need to invest in a CMS.
Well, the quick answer to that is yes, unless you're experienced at editing HTML code. However, rather than invest in a CMS, you may want to consider using a blog or a Facebook page to display the latest news, or use links and plugins to drive traffic between your blog or Facebook page and your website. Okay,
great. Thank you. I had some questions about, Google AdWords. What are your thoughts on Google AdWords?
Well, if done well, Google AdWords is worth the investment, but I'd recommend that you do a lot of research before taking that plunge. If you don't have a strong strategy, then your cost per click will become potentially incredibly expensive. Perry Marshall has some really good articles on his website about getting started with Google AdWords, and that's just perrymarshall.com, PERRYMARSHALL.com. I'd suggest that our attendees today visit that website for some really handy advice.
Okay, great. Thank you, Doug. I had a couple of questions in terms of design aspects to a website. I think that the first one is why should we avoid italics when you're using a font on web pages?
It's just harder to pick up. It's just best to have a level of consistency on your website. Now, people need. I think our attendees today need to understand where I'm coming from. I'm not talking about designability of your brand, which might have different types of fonts included within their branding. These are elements of the website which a viewer will just simply see as static, even though you might have a click-through from it. What I'm getting to is the content that people are going to scan. If they can't pick it up easily and quickly, they're just simply going to go to another site, and you've effectively lost them, potentially for good, which is never a good thing.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Another design-focused one is, is it better to have a light background on your website rather than a dark one?
Well, it really depends on your brand and what's most appropriate. Generally, light backgrounds are more user-friendly, but the most important element is contrast, as we explained earlier in the webinar.
Okay, great. We've also, if you wouldn't mind clarifying, we've just had somebody ask about what we mean when we refer to free stock images. So if you wouldn't mind explaining that concept, that would be great.
Sure. Look, I mean, a simple way to explain that is clipart, which people are very familiar with. It's free stock, and a savvy internet user, web user, is immediately going to pick up whether or not you're using free stock imagery, which just looks quite cheap, and they're going to know that you haven't made that additional investment that's required to get the appropriate images that clearly communicate your message that you're trying to get across in that particular part of your website. Obviously, if you're doing a blog or something like that, let's just say that a restaurant is doing a foodie blog, they can obviously take the photos themselves. But what I'm talking about in terms of cheap stock free images are the types of filler images that are contained within websites to sort of break up the white space. Just be really careful about which ones you're choosing.
Well, because there's really nothing worse than, a photo that you're using appearing on someone else's website. We've had that problems with even offline materials for years where, if you use a free stock image, you're likely to see it everywhere. And even if you buy a stock image, for $75 or $100 and put that in your brochure, then, there's nothing worse than seeing somebody else using exactly the same image. It kind of affects your credibility, really.
It does. And look, I mean, we can all very quickly pick up on whether or not a type of image within a creative context is Americanized. It's very easy to pick up, Helen. So yeah, as I said, be really careful about which images that you choose.
Yeah, and look, Doug, this question, I think, we have answered it in previous webinars, but I think it's always a good one to chat about, which is when we were talking about search engine optimization. You mentioned regular updating your website, and some people have asked how often should they update their websites.
Well, as soon as the analytics start telling them to. If you'll notice on your website that the amount of visits or hits or the amount of time spent on your website is reducing over time, that's a clear indication that you need to go back into the site and alter your hyperlinks or particular keywords and content to ensure you can lift the profile once again of your website. So look, I would say every 6 months you really should be looking at your website content and whether or not you do need to change it. There's a company called Hitwise that can provide you with key search word terms that are most used within particular industry sectors. And it's a fantastic tool when you're searching for the most relevant keywords to put within your content. But there are obviously also, free analytics platforms such as Google, where you can do similar things. So again, it really comes down to research. But to answer the question, definitely every 6 months you should be looking to upgrade your content.
Great. Look, thank you for that, Doug, and thank you everybody for your attendance today. I'm terribly sorry, but we've run out of time, and I know we haven't quite got to everyone's questions, but hope that you enjoyed the webinar, and we hope that you found it useful for your business, and we really appreciate your participation. An evaluation survey will be sent to you shortly, and we'd very much appreciate your feedback on today's webinar. Thank you again for attending, and we hope you have a lovely afternoon. Thank you.
The organizer has